Hello, clever people, and welcome to my review for Atomic Blonde. So Atomic Blonde stars Charlize Theron and James McAvoy, and it follows the story of an undercover MI6 agent played by Charlize Theron who goes to Berlin during the Cold War to try to investigate a person that was recently killed. Now, Charlize Theron is hinted at having a personal connection to this person, so she goes there, tries to figure out, and at the same time there's this list of double agents that she's trying to get in order to stop some terrible things from happening. And while this is happening, there's tons of twists, there's tons of turns. It's your generic spy movie. Atomic Blonde was a movie a lot of people were really hyped for that I sort of just thought looked fine. It looked good, it looked very decent. However, I think that just a lot of the marketing didn't really affect me in the way that I wanted it to. It sort of just looked like a fun action movie, while some people were comparing it to be the next Mad Max Fury Road, and definitely this movie is nowhere close to that, and I didn't think that it would be close to that. But I have to say, I did find some enjoyability in Atomic Blonde. There is definitely a lot to like in this movie, particularly the action sequences. You probably heard of that the action is good, but it honestly absolutely is incredible. The way that it's shot, the way that they just have still angles where you just get to see what's actually happening. That seems like a rarity in action movies these days, because oftentimes they think that you need to shake the camera in order to make an action scene intense, where really, if you just make the choreography good enough, if you just plan it out well enough and you shoot it in an interesting way, that'll make it so that the action is entertaining. And the movie definitely does that very well. And to go along with that, they have a very cool soundtrack in the movie. Now, it's not on the level of Baby Driver, where the soundtrack enhances the experience of the movie or anything like that, but they do sort of sync some of the action scenes to the music, and the music fits the time really well, because it's during the Cold War, it's during, I believe, the late 80s or mid-80s, and a lot of the songs fit, and they also fit the tone of the movie and everything else. They don't feel jarring like Suicide Squad, where they just sort of are happening, and it's really abrupt and it's really annoying, but rather, the music fits the tone and it fits the situation really well. Now, what Atomic Blonde tries to do, what its number one goal is to be a stylish, very suave spy thriller, where you go in and you see all the colors and all the action, and Charlize Theron's acting, and all her wigs and everything, and you think, wow, that was a really stylish, cool time, and because of that, it goes for style over substance. And the thing is, the issue with this movie is that I believe that style over substance is great. I think Edgar Wright movies, I love his movies because of his style. Same with Wes Anderson. I think that if you're going to do style over substance, you need to do completely 90% style and 10% substance. And unfortunately, Atomic Blonde goes for a 50-50 split. It has 50% style and 50% substance. So when the 50% style comes along, it honestly didn't feel as impactful because it wasn't constantly happening, and the other substance part of the movie, the actual story, was extremely weak. It wasn't entertaining. It was actually quite dull. And unfortunately, I found myself quite bored in many situations and many times in Atomic Blonde. And that led to me wanting the movie to be over very, very quickly. And that is definitely not a good thing. I think about this movie is good in like a 30-minute segment. And in that part, it can be really entertaining and maybe be like a 7.5 or above. Unfortunately, this movie has to be feature length, so it goes on for quite a while, and it does get quite irritating. And while I did say that I liked the cinematography, I think that there were a lot of really weird decisions in certain situations, particularly with smoking and drinking. Now, this sounds like a weird complaint, but honestly, it kind of got annoying. Every single time, because the movie is from the perspective of Charlize Theron telling people what was happening, which also, I forgot to mention that did mess up with the stakes a lot, to the point that I wasn't in big suspense during a lot of scenes, but the scenes were executed well enough because I knew that the villain was going to live, because there was a subplot introduced at the beginning where it showed her sitting down talking to people, and it was a week after the situations that had happened in the movie. And because of that, the stakes weren't quite there, which didn't really affect it because the action was still very interesting and very fun to watch, so I wasn't thinking about stakes, but still that was an issue. But going back to my original point, they do have that different perspective. So they'll cut to one scene, and then they'll cut back here, and then they'll go back and forth between a week before and her telling them, and oftentimes she'll be smoking a cigarette while she is talking to the people, and as she's smoking, she'll exhale, and then it'll have the audio go over for the situation that happened a week ago. And it just sort of happened a lot, which was really weird. She constantly felt the need just to show cigarettes in really close featurettes. I know that sounds weird, but honestly, it did bug me. And there are also some other little things that bug me about Atomic Blonde. Now, Atomic Blonde is a movie I feel very mixed about. There's a lot of really good things to it. The action, again, is just awesome. There's a lot of good sides to this movie, but unfortunately, it's bogged down by the fact that it oftentimes gets quite dull, and the fact that the movie really gets old about an hour into it, or even 45 minutes into it, and that really hurt it. And for that, I will give Atomic Blonde a 6 out of 10. Didn't want to mention this in the review, but I did think it was cool that they did mention Stalker, which is one of my favorite films of all time. I have the Criterion up here, but yeah, Stalker, I really like the fact that they included that reference, and it made my day. But anyway, that concludes my review for Atomic Blonde. What are your thoughts on this film, or Charlize Theron as an action hero? I think she's doing pretty well, but what do you think? Comment in the comment section below, and let me know. I'm Robert Burke, and this has been The Clever Critics. Goodbye.